Okay, this is an overview of Homework 3 and I guess, an update with the course and where we're going. Um, it's week 11, and we're going to be looking more at metadata. Obviously, you're going to be reading some about that and talking about XML. Before you start watching this video on the Homework 3, I want you to do the readings and do the Introduction XML and the XML Coders Bootcamp. Both of those will help you with the assignment and give you tons of context for why I'm asking you to do what I'm asking you to do in the homework. The other, just a little caveat, the Introduction to XML, it should be pretty clean in terms of being all digital libraries directed. You may hear me make a reference to the XML class, and just please ignore that. I'm repurposing a video. For all intents and purposes, is the exact same presentation I would give to you. So I reused that video and focused more on doing the Homework 3 overview. We're going to be using Notepad++, which you'll get to see in the Coders boot camp rather. But you're going to want to go to that and download it. And once you download, it's PC only. If we have Mac users, you can use JEdit, which I will link on here. I did not put it on here, but JEdit is one you can use. There are others, but just contact me via the discussion board if you have any issues, if you're a Mac user. And then we're going to use Dublin Core Generator, which I have it linked off the homework page. This assignment, I have it due basically in 2 weeks. If you click on here, you can see now I'm not going to talk about Omeka yet per se, but you're going to be referencing Omeka a little bit. And what Omeka is going to be our final project. I do not have it linked here, but it will be the final project. And what Omeka is, and before I start talking about Homework 3, let me just show you a link to the site. Omeka, again, I just have you looking at Dublin Core because that's the metadata portion of this course. So we want to just talk about Dublin Core, but just to zoom out a little bit, Omeka is a repository software, and the final project is going to be for you to build a digital library or digital repository using the software Omeka. So pretty much from here on out, any assignments or exercises that we're doing, they're going to somehow relate to Omeka, because the idea is I'm trying to give you tools, context, knowledge and practices so that you can operationalize them. And what we're going to do to operationalize them in is Omeka. I'm going to talk more about Omeka later on, but just for now on, it's a repository software. Hundreds of institutions, if not maybe thousands, use it. Anyways, it's a lot of fun, and we'll talk about it later. So let's talk about Homework 3. Okay, so you're going to read Working with Dublin Core on the Omeka site. I have some generic examples about Dublin Core. These are basically right from OCLC, or the dublincore.org as it's known now. And it gives you basically examples of, like, well, what's a title? The Sound of Music, that would be talking about either the video or the soundtrack. Authors or creator, you might do last name first, then first name. Sometimes you can just do the whole name. There's other creators that would be like a corporate creator, be like the Elvis Presley fan club, Art Institute of Chicago. They could be personal creators, again, like Duncan, Phyllis Ann. Subjects and keywords, subject and keywords, description, publisher. Most of these are pretty straightforward, but I wanted to give you some examples. We have a date here. We would do an ISO date, typically. That is usually year, month, day. Resource type, format, so on and so forth. And Miller does a pretty good job in the reading for last week's reading for Dublin Core. So if you have any things that are unclear about Dublin Core, go back and reread that. We will also, for the homework, well, let me get back to that. There we are. Okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to download some images and you're going to describe them, and we're going to use some various technologies to do that. Your images are still up here. You can re-download those again and use them as I gave them to you, or better yet, if you like, you could just use the images that you've already resized and renamed for homework 2, because they're going to be smaller and maybe a little easier to use. But just use 5 images. You might try to find ones that are a little bit different from each other, but I know some of you got ones that kind of like all the images are sort of the same subject, but you know, do the best you can with it. What I'm going to do for the example is this photo of Joe Namath. And I'm just going to work through this and then I'll actually show you how to do it. We're going to use this Dublin Core generator. This is an online metadata generation tool. There's a lot of tools out there in the world to use for all sorts of metadata creation. Sometimes people just work right in Excel, which you're going to get to see. Some mark theirs up in XML by hand, and some use these tools that are sort of like an interface, if you will, that kind of hides all the sort of the yucky technology behind the scenes and just allows you to use essentially like a web form. A lot of tools out there. I probably won't talk about too many of them in this course, but I might reference, you know, when we go to talk about repository software, I might reference them there a little bit. You're going to, using the Dublin Core generator, you're going to have to describe a few of the Dublin Core fields, or DC fields. We're going to do title, creator, subject, and just limit to one subject. I'm going to have to remove that S there. How this tool works, when you do multiple subjects, it sort of screws up when you go to convert from XML back into a CSV file, so just limit it to one. You're going to do a description, a date, date created, type, format, and you can find the authority for that format, and an identifier. And what we're going to use for an identifier is just the file name, but no format extension. You could do that, but I don't want you to do it. I think the identifier should really stand on its own, separate from the format. Because if you remember, you may have one image but many versions of it, or one pardon me, one audio file but many different versions of it. You could have a WAV file, a .mp3 file, and so on and so forth. So the identifier should be for just that one record, which is what we're creating, a metadata record. Pardon me. So for each image, you're going to generate XML, and again, I'm going to show you how to do that when I run through the example. And you can cut and paste, and I'll correct that little typo there, cut and paste it into your .xml file. And when you're done, you should have one XML file with 5 image records in it. And you can look at the, when we look at the Dublin Core generator, they have a lot of different authorities out there, but Library of Congress, subject headings is nice, and they have 2 versions of it. There's the older interface. So you're just going to do one subject, though. Just be clear on that. And then we're going to use a converter here to create the XML that we just created using the Dublin Core generator, and we're going to create it back into a text file or a .csv file. Once you're done with this, you're going to get to use a different part of your brain and do some narrative writing about some of the issues with Dublin Core and mods. You're going to read about mods, but we're not going to really do a lot with it in terms of technology. Mods is not supported by Omeka. Many other applications do, but mods does not. And that's some of the things you're going to talk about in this little essay is, you know, what are the strengths and weaknesses of it. And they both have a lot of pluses and minuses, and I want you to talk about that in a 300 word essay. And you can just put that in a Word file or doc file. Once you get done with everything here, you're going to send as one zip file via email to me. So you're going to take your .xml file, your .csv file, and .doc file, and when you're in Windows Explorer, you can just highlight all 3 of them and right-click on it, and you can just send it right to a compressed file or .zip file, and that file is the one you're going to send to me. You have plenty of time. You have virtually over 2 weeks to work on it. You're going to be getting some other assignments along the way, reading and course assignments, but it should give you plenty of time to work through it. Again, please don't put it off because these things sometimes can take a while to work through it. So let's look at the example. So what I have is let me open this up in a new window and shrink it down. And maybe I can make them a little smaller. Let's move them out of the way here. And close that. Did he go away? No, there he is. Okay, so I'm going to download my .xml file. Now, what you should do, Chrome or your internet browser will show it to you this way, but what you're going to do is actually right-click on it. So you're going to have your images downloaded, or I'd just use the ones from Homework 2. You're going to right-click and do Save Link As, and I will create a little folder here, and I'll call it Homework 3. And then open that, and then save it, and I'm going to rename it just like that. Save it. So now I've downloaded. I'm going to go to Notepad++, which you should have already downloaded. And I, in the Coders Bootcamp, show you how to add the XML tools to it. You're going to need to have certain plugins. You're going to need to get this XML tools for it to work correctly. And you can do that via the plugin manager, and I've already showed you this in the video, but basically these are all the ones I already have installed, and XML tools is here. In the available, it won't show up there because I've already got them installed. And that's that. So what we're going to do is I have my XML file. I'm going to save it here. Cancel, just save it. Once it's blue, it's saved. And this is an XML file. Again, this class is not an XML class, but I just want you to get a little bit of, sort of just to be able to get your feet wet a little bit with the technology. On the discussion board, I'm happy to help any of you if you do come up with some like XML technology issues, because I want you to be a little bit familiar with this, but I'm not really trying to grade you on the technology per se, but more that you can see how to manipulate your metadata through various formats and, insert, update, that sort of thing. So I have my XML file here open. I'm going to go back to the photo, and then I'll go back to the homework page here, and I'm going to go to the Dublin Core Generator tool here, and then I'm going to give it a title. So there's Joe Namath, so why don't we just say Joe Standing. That's not a great title. Most photos don't have titles unless it was for some like really official occasion or something. This was just a snapshot. It's a very famous snapshot, but it was just one that was shot, kind of during the game. Who's the creator? I'm just going to make up one. I have no idea who the creator is. Or we could do a corporate creator if we wanted. Sports Illustrated. The subject, here's where I just want you to do one subject. So we're going to use an authority. And next week we're going to really dive into vocabularies and subject authorities. I apologize, I kind of got them a little out of sequence for the course, but you're just going to basically give it a subject. Some of the aspects of subject headings is pretty straightforward, but next week we kind of dive into it, and like some of the next level stuff we're going to talk about linked data and so forth. But just for now on, just for the purposes of this homework, you're going to do Library of Congress subject heading. There's many of them here. MESH is for medical. Art and Architecture, Thesaurus. There's other ones that I should know them, but I don't. I think this is NLM. I think that's another National Library of Medicine one. But I'm going to click on this, and I can show you. It's kind of neat. Actually, if you okay, so that's the basically the identifier that's going to say what, or the attribute rather, that's going to say what subject heading we got, or what authority we consulted to get our subject heading. So we're going to click over here on Library of Congress subject heading, and you get this little pop-up that's kind of neat. And I can go in here and I could look up, well, let's keep going. I could look up quarterbacks. I could look up Let's see if national football. Nope. Let's try NFL. Okay, NFL blitz. How about we just try football? And no, space. Okay, so I'm just going to do football plain, and then I'm going to add to record. And it nope, I don't want to do it twice. So X out, and I'm going to delete this one here. Just do a minus. Okay, so we just have one subject, football, from the Library of Congress subject heading. And then I'm going to give it a description. And this is where a lot of the work and metadata creation, some of the most expensive work happens, because this is where typically you're using humans to do this work, and they've got to come up with some kind of narrative, brief, but narrative explanation of what the image, audio, book, so on and so forth, what it's about. So let's say, and Joe Namath, I think that's how you spell it, Namath, is standing in mud talking on headphones during a football game. When I do description, I always advise my colleagues and students to write in complete sentences. It's just easier. If someone's going to read it, it might as well be in a complete sentence. Talking on headphones. Okay, so we have that. And I can't remember. Let's go back to the homework assignment. Let me do a new window here in IST 6. And what else do I have you do here? Homework 3. So title, creator, subject, description, date, date created, type, format. Okay, so let's go back here. Date. Let's do date created. And I don't know if it has a way to normalize this or not. Let's see. No. Alright, so let's ignore that and leave that blank, and I'm going to do 19, and let's take a guess, 72, and we'll put it somewhere in the middle. We're making up stuff now. And type, what is it? Let's do the Dublin Core type here. So we're going to click on type, and then I can do image here. I could do still image if I want, add to record, and that way you get a consistent entry of what it is. I could type in still image, and if I do that, I'm not really following the Dublin Core sort of authority for what type it is. So what I can do with this tool again is just click on here and look up image, and I get still image, or I could add image if I wanted to, and I think it's already there. So let's X out of that, and we're going to see if it, oh, gotta still add it. So let's go back to image, and I think because I started, there we go. Format, this would be what kind of digital format it is. So let's go in here, and then we're going to click on format, and again, if I do image, I should get a bunch of image. And how they do the format authority is typically they do whatever the sort of broad family of formats it in. Whether it's let's see, let's see what audio does. Yeah, so audio. That's video. Yeah, video is the same way. So we're doing image, so that's like the broader family, and then there's all these other sort of sub-formats that would fit in. There's PNG, TIFF, JPEG, and so forth. I think this is probably a JPEG. It's up on the web. It could be a TIFF. Probably in your cases, you guys are, if you're going to do your images, you're going to do either JPEGs or TIFFs. So I'm going to throw JPEG on here if I can. There we go. Add to record. And we're going to X out. Okay, so that's got the authority. And then we're going to do the identifier for it. Let's just see what this looks like. This is not what you all are going to be doing, but let's do something like that's really ugly looking and not self-describing. And we're going to get rid of that in there. You could do a URI. Basically what a URI is like a web address. We're not doing that though. We're going to do the ones that you guys created for your images. So we got the identifier. Let's go back to the homework. Type, format, and identifier. And I think I'm set now. So we've got everything we need here. I'm going to scroll down at the bottom, and I'm going to I've got it generate as XML, and you leave all these unclicked, and then we're going to, and it'll leave, I think if we go blank, it won't give you a root element. I already have root elements created for you in these images because we have metadata as actually the root element for the entire XML document, but we have a quote-unquote record here, so each record will be an image. So let's generate metadata, and so that's for one image. And I'm going to copy that and paste it right in here. And then I can go to my plugins again, XML tool, and if you want to clean it up, if I do pretty print, oh, didn't like that. Let's see here. Alright, let's try that again. Okay. So again, if you do pretty print, and basically what that does is it gives it a nice sort of indentation so it looks good, easy to read. And then I would do it again. I would do go back and describe another image using the Dublin Core generator. You could refresh it, or just, I think it's easier just to refresh it again. It should clear out, yeah. And then type in all your metadata again. Scroll the bottom, generate metadata, highlight it all, and then paste it in here. Okay, so once we've done that, I'm going to save it. I don't know why it keeps doing that. You don't really... Oh, it's trying to hook up to a meta. Just click OK and it should save. Okay, once it's blue, it's saved. So we're going to go back to the homework. I'm going to X out of Joe Namath, and we're going to go to one of these converters. I've been using this XML to CSV converter. And here, again, it's taking XML file and it'll create it to a comma-separated value file, which is basically a text file, but you can look at it in Excel spreadsheet. And Excel spreadsheets are things that we use all the time in digital libraries. We use XML all the time in digital libraries. So they're both great tools that you want to know how to very fluently go back and forth between them. And there are tools that can help us do that, because you never want to do anything by hand if you can have a computer do it for you. So what we're going to do is choose a file, and I'll go into homework 3, and there I've got my .xml file. I'm going to open that up and then convert to CSV, and then I'm going to download the result. And it's in a zip file. You really should extract it, and then get it, and I'm going to cut it out of there. And I'm going to go back to my folder, and I'll just paste it in there. And you can see Excel has already been associated with it. It may not in your computer, just depends, but typically in a Windows box, all your .csv files and your XLS files are all going to be associated with Microsoft's Excel. You could use OpenOffice as well. So what we're going to do is just click on this, and it'll open up, and you should see one record here. So again, here are all our Dublin Core fields that we decided to use. It only prints out the ones that have stuff filled in them. Has data filled in them. So it's a pretty small Dublin Core record, but basically it's kind of like the who, what, where, and when, and why, kind of. You're going to send me 5 records, so this would be the first one. I don't know why the identifier didn't print out. To go back and look at that, what the issue is there. Huh. It may not have liked it. Did I get the right one? Let's try it again here. Yeah, I think I did. So anyways, I will look at that. If you cannot get your identifier, you could You can hand do it, or if I come up with a solution with that, we can. I don't know why it didn't. But anyways, you could type in identifier and do it that way if you want. So that's that. Let's go back to the homework page. And once you've done that, you've done sort of the technical part of the assignment, and then you're going to do again this 300-word essay on some of the issues between Dublin Core and mods. That's it for homework 3. I'm going to put a discussion forum up for homework 3, so please post any questions you have there about the assignment, and I will answer them as quickly as possible.